I have two brief questions I'd like to ask, if I may.
Hi, welcome to Left Foot Media. My name is Brendan Malone and you're watching The Daily Question. Today's question of the day: why is fatherhood so important? Now, the reason I'm asking that question is because earlier in the week, on Sunday just been, we celebrated Father's Day here in New Zealand. Same in Australia, and it's this is the time of the year in this part of the world when we celebrate fathers and what they bring to the world. And obviously it's a day when dads get treated a little bit extra special, and they get some gifts, and everyone says, hey, thank you for being such an awesome dad. And what we tend to do when we think about the gift of fatherhood, particularly on Father's Day, is we think about that gift in relation to the people who are the recipients of that gift. So first and foremost, the children who are the recipients of having a stable, loving, committed father who is giving of himself to them and is present in their lives. We also think about the mother of the children and the fact that she is in a truly blessed and privileged position if she's able to live in a home with a stable, loving and committed father who also is stable, loving and committed and giving of himself to her as well. There's something really important about that for her, not just for the children that they have brought into the world together. But one of the things we forget when we think about fatherhood and we celebrate fatherhood is that it is hugely important for society, not just for those two reasons, not just because of the people who are on the receiving end of fatherhood's self-giving, but also because of what it does in the lives of the men who are fathers. So men like me, as a father, my life and my masculinity is profoundly better because of the gift of fatherhood that is present in my life. So for me, Father's Day is actually a chance to celebrate and to thank my wife and my children for allowing me that opportunity to give of myself through the gift of fatherhood, because obviously if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to do that. It's not rocket science, right? We all know how this works. And so it's important to remember that fatherhood is actually hugely transformative, not just in the lives of the people who receive it, who are on the receiving ends of that self-giving love, but also for those of us, the dads, who participate, who give themselves fully to that act of self-giving love that is fatherhood. It transforms us. It makes us better men than we otherwise would have been. I know in my life that without the gift of fatherhood, I would have effectively been little more than an overgrown child. There is something truly profound that fatherhood draws out of you as a man. And it's only through those moments, if you give yourself to them, those moments of suffering and difficulty and challenge that come along with fatherhood, the uncomfortability, the moments that, like for example, 2 a.m. when your kid is screaming out, I've wet the bed and Dad, come and help me. That's not really the kind of thing that we go out of our way to seek to do in life. Generally what happens with us, particularly us blokes, I think, is we're more prone to try and live lives of self-gratification rather than self-giving. But fatherhood really knocks that on the head. And what fatherhood does is it says, no, you cannot live a life of self-gratification. If you live a life of self-gratification and you try and live your fatherhood that way, you will fail as a father. It is that simple. Because there are things that you need to do as a father and as a husband, for the mother of your children, for your children, that actually are going to require you to make self-sacrifice, to give of yourself, to suffer, whether it's in small ways or even bigger ways. And so the only way that you can really live out the gift of fatherhood in a meaningful way is if you don't seek pleasure as your primary aim in life. If you make that your primary aim of your fatherhood, of your parenting, you will fail at parenting. It is that simple. And so what fatherhood does is it draws us out of ourselves as men in a way that nothing else really does. Fatherhood is this profound and very, in many ways, sort of mundane, because it's just so normal and it just happens. It's this profound and mundane gift which is actually hugely important for society. Because what it does is that it's this sort of ordinary vehicle by which most men will actually come to grow and mature in ways that they would not otherwise grow and mature. And they become more flourishing. As individuals, they flourish to greater levels, but they also become more responsible citizens. They also become better men. And in becoming better men, they become better citizens. They become better, stronger, more complete, more, I would say, important. I don't mean in the sense of value, but more important members of the community and what they bring to the community. And here's the thing, though. At the moment, there are a lot of men, this is an issue that I am really concerned about, the fact that there are a lot of young men coming up behind me who are not likely to marry, who are not likely to have kids, and that is not a good thing. And here's the funny thing, there's like an irony here, because often what happens is, particularly with third and fourth wave feminists, is they want to rail against marriage and family life, and they want to attack marriage and family life at the same time as they want to chastise and criticise the way that they are treated by men in society. But here's the thing, if you want men to actually start respecting women and becoming more responsible, more self-giving and more loving in their engagement with the world, then guess what? You want them to be married and having kids. It transforms their lives in profound ways. I remember when I held my eldest daughter in my arms for the very first time, and I wept and wept when I held her in my arms. And I knew in that instant that my life had been completely transformed as a man. I would never ever be the same again. And it was true. And it only got better from there. Now there was difficulty, there was suffering. It's not easy to be a parent, but it's through giving myself to those trials and those challenges and that call to self-giving love that I have become a better man, and I have grown and matured in ways that I otherwise wouldn't have. As more children came along into our lives, as they grew in the different stages of raising children and parenting, you sort of find yourself with those upon you, that begins to transform you in a whole new level and a whole new different sort of set of ways. But this is the thing, the gift of fatherhood is so hugely important for us as a society, because it means that we've got men who are not just wandering around aimlessly, effectively in a social desert. The other thing that's really important about family is that it brings us into community, and we need community, all of us do, men, women, children, we all need community. We are communal creatures, we need community. And marriage and family life is one of the first and most important communities, and was the normal community. Well, now that's in danger, and that's a real big problem. So it's important for community. It's important for the fact that it draws us as men out of a social desert and into a place where we are giving of ourselves, where we are transformed as men. And through that self-giving, fatherhood is the sort of ordinary, everyday path to masculine greatness, to true heroic masculinity. Because no one's going to write a book about you or make a movie about your life. No one's going to write a book about the dad who got up at 3 a.m. to help his kid when he was sick. The dad who got up every time his baby daughter cried. No one wants to see that movie. No one wants to read that book. Yet that is how the vast majority of men live out heroic greatness in this world. And there is a real tragedy, a real tragic and very, I would say, socially disastrous wave that is waiting to break upon us, that is probably very soon to break upon us, in the fact that there are a lot more young men who are not going to experience that, who are not going to be able to take that journey for whatever reason. And I think we as a society need to start asking some hard questions about this, because the future doesn't bode well if we don't recognise just how important fatherhood is. And like I said, it's not just about the people who are the recipients of that gift of fatherhood and that self-giving love, the children in particular. It's about the men who give themselves to others through that journey of fatherhood, and about what that does and how that transforms our society in profoundly important and good ways. As per usual, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please let me know what you think in the comments section below. And if you like the content I'm creating and you'd like to see more of it, then please support me on Patreon or PayPal. There is a link for both in the description below. That's right, I can hear my theme music too. I'll see you next week on The Daily Question.